Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of your Frederish podcast. My name's Gary, and here I am once again. Well, we're talking today about something that everybody pretty much loves, I would say. If not doing, at least everybody loves watching. Of course, not literally everybody, but 90% of people out there, female or male, young and old, European or American, Asian or oceanic, whatever. I'm talking about sports. Well, it's not only something popular and applauded, literally and not literally, but something useful and important, and that's been accompanying humanity ever since the first Australopithecus walked on Earth, right? Walked on a green lands of Africa millions of years ago, I believe. I was not there. History cannot go back that further. But if I had to come up with a theory, I would say that our ancestors, our very, very own ancestors, already had some kind of a physical entertainment other than just running after animals to survive. And despite of the fact that they would do that the whole time or almost the whole time, it would probably still be fun to play and to do some competitive action with their partners and colleagues, you know. So this is probably way older than we believe it is. What does history actually tell us about it? Well, I'm not quite sure, but I would have to guess. If I had to guess, I would say that it's probably register or indicated the existence from like thousands of years ago. It's certainly not nothing that came up in the Roman Empire, you know, or even the Greek Empire for that matter. This is probably older than Abraham times, you know, probably older than or as at least as old as the very first civilizations we had in our planet, in our existence. So yeah, before we jump into it, just as usual, I totally recommend you to go grab a cup of coffee, a beer, soda, whatever it takes for you to relax. It's a lovely Friday, TGIF, thank God it's Friday, and let's just do it. Let's go. All right, so how about we go back in time and talk about or think about our old times when we were younger. I don't know how old you are who are listening to me right now, but you probably have or had in the past some kind of sport involved directly with your life, right? Because first of all, we all are encouraged to do sports in school. We have our lessons in school to play sports there, the sports lesson. So I'm pretty sure if you're a man and if you're, no matter the age, I am absolutely positive you had in your childhood the soccer matches, the street soccer matches, or even the those improvised grass pitches that we will use as soccer feuds to play to settle our differences, and it's absolutely inevitable that I start talking about soccer because yes, if you're listening to me from somewhere else, I'm recording this from Brazil. I am 100% Brazilian, and obviously in this country, soccer is definitely the most popular sport. I think it's no surprise for you, gringo, listening to me right now, isn't it? All right. So I played a lot soccer matches with my street friends. I got hurt a lot. I have so many um, so many precious memories of these days. I'm not gonna share them with you guys because it wouldn't be interesting enough. Because I'm just talking about some matches that I won, my team won, some matches that I lost, and although they're absolutely fun and precious to me, I'm pretty sure that by telling you it wouldn't be as much fun as it is to me, or even precious. But nonetheless, there's more things for us to talk about. So I would like you to pause this episode for a second and close your eyes and think of your past, your childhood. Did you get to play any type of sports? Soccer, if not soccer, maybe volleyball, maybe basketball. Though basketball is not so popular in Brazil, but there are lots of people who tell me that they played basketball when they were younger, or even any other. Because honestly, I personally believe that any kind of kids game, I mean, most of our kids game are sports too. They're just not official, and or some of them take years. Some of them are sports, definitely always were sports, a type of category of sport, but they just take years to be recognized as sports, like skateboard, for example, which is another thing I did lots of times, in my childhood and teenage years, and I got very, very happy when they made it official and took it to the Olympics. The skateboarding, it is definitely some kind of sports. It is brilliant. It is something I recommend. Of course, it is dangerous. It is dangerous, period. But it's even especially compared with soccer or even basketball or volleyball or any other ball games. But it is fun, and there are ways to do it in a safe way, which I didn't when I was younger, when I would do that. I never broke any bones, but because I didn't take too much risk. I didn't take I didn't take risks when I was skating, It's something I still appreciate at my 35-year-old age, but I don't do that anymore, and it is definitely too risky to do. But yeah, I'm happy anyways that this has become officially a sport. So yeah, that's definitely a right choice of the Olympics committee, or whatever the organ, whatever the chamber of people who decide that. Well, now let us talk about the importance of the sports. Yeah, I think I discussed in this very podcast, in previous episodes, about health, about how physical activity is good for our health. And of course, when I talk about sports, it's inevitable to talk about physical activities. Although there is a modality of sports called esports that are, to put it simpler, video games, which I wouldn't like to add to this conversation because I'm talking about physical sports. Okay, so why are they more important than we believe they are? Of course, it is because science has proved extensively how good to our health moving our body, exercising is, right? That's indisputable. That's a fact. And of course, every sport will have a range of challenge, a range of physical requirement. Some of them, I'm saying this to say that some of them are more intense, some of them are less intense, some of them are more competitive, some of them are less competitive, but all of them require us to have a physical to have physical strength, and of course, really directly related to that, mentally we have to be mentally okay, which is, by the way, something that comes with exercising. If you don't know that, if you want to think okay, if you want to think well, if you want to have your brain working and operating properly, exercise. That's the only one word I tell you. And of course, try to eat as clean as possible, but that's it, you know. And it is something really, really good that we have. I didn't think like that when I was a kid. I think no one did, but it is a fantastic thing that we have it in school, right? We have a gymnastics class. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure if that's the way we call it in English, but I think it's gymnastics, or it's not physical education as we call in in Brazil, but or sports class. You know, it is fantastic that we have them in school. And one thing that I miss being here in Brazil compared to the United States, I never lived in the States, but judging by what I see in movies and on TV and on internet, you guys, if there's any American listening to this podcast right now, you guys pretty much cherish you culturally value sports in the university, you know, even in a exaggerated way, I would say, like, at least judging by what we see in movies, you know, there are like sports guys who are absolutely mentally, let me put it in a politically correct way, mentally less in a mentally less favorable position, if you know what I mean. Let's say that they're dumb as a door, but yeah, they get like all the best grades coming from teachers and from people in powerful positions in the institutions, in the educational institutions, because they're in the football team or in the basketball team, you know. Of course, that's a prejudice. Probably not. It's not exactly like that in the real world. But truth of the matter is, if someone gets good at playing a sport, the chances of this person making money out of it are way bigger than they are, at least in Brazil. Okay, everybody knows. I'm saying this to say that everybody knows one person who is a talented soccer player, usually men, but in some cases girls too, who is an incredible talented soccer player and never got to play professionally, right? And it's of course not a lack of demand, because that's a big national passion, but actually a lack of institutionalized, or even more than institutionalized, inside the culture. How can I put it? A cultural movement, you know, like the one that exists in the United States. For example, if someone is talented at basketball, doors will open to this person, you know, or at least more easily than the ones that could open to a talented. When I say talented, guys, I'm not saying someone who is a good player. You know, I was a very good player, good soccer player when I was younger, but I was never talented at playing soccer. You know, there's a big difference. Don't take me for a fool, please. At least not at this specific point. But yeah, what I'm trying to say here is that there's so many good soccer stars buried even before their career started, you know. And this is why we don't have this sports thing in our culture in Brazil. You know, if you disagree, feel free to tell me in the comment section below. But that's the impression I have when it comes to sports here in Brazil. But nevertheless, we have it in school. We have it. We have a considerable number of doors that can open to you if you're talented enough. Um, yeah, and this is fantastic, But apart from the thing of becoming a professional or not, um, you playing, you're doing something, you're exercising is totally relevant, totally important. And I would like to close off this section, this part, by saying that if you're not into a sport, uh, please consider getting into one, practicing one. You can, and the range of options is fantastic because you have gym, just exercising in the gym. You can run, right? There's the running as a sport. I forgot the correct name, but you know what I'm saying. There's the the enormous amount of ball games out there. There are sports related to nature, like canoeing, for example. I don't even know if that's the right way to say that, or even hiking, even hunting, for Christ's sake. Of course, this is not the most appropriate one, I would say, but even the parkour, for example. So please consider, of course, try to keep as safe as possible. I believe that I never said that before, but I follow one golden rule that maybe is divided into more parts, 2 or 3 parts. That is, make sure you do the exercise you do, no matter what, sports, whatever. Make sure you do it properly and make sure you do it safely. All right. So having this golden rule or rules in mind, just go for it. Have no fear. The only thing I would like to ask you, if I am in any position to ask you something, is that don't become a couch potato. If you don't know what a couch potato is, Google it. Couch potato. Couch like sofa and potato like potato. Yeah, one of the most outstanding facts about sports is that how much they can make it possible for people to become millionaires today, right? If we go back in time a little, we're gonna see that the players, the sports people, the athletes back in the days, like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they wouldn't make much money out of it. If you read Pelé's biography, you'll see that he didn't make much money only with soccer, and he was Pelé. It wasn't that just like a random guy in a random Brazilian second category team. So there wasn't much money coming. And today, to be honest, if you just get your money, you as an athlete, you can confirm there's any athlete listening to me right now. You can tell us better, but you don't make much money. Of course, you make more than the average in Brazil and anywhere in the world, which is fantastic. But if you do the math, right, there are costs involved in being an athlete, because you're exposed to getting hurt. One thing is, because let us just separate it, guys. There are a universe of difference between doing a sport for fun as a hobby and doing a sport as a job, as a trade, as a profession. Yeah, if that's your profession, you gotta do that constantly. And truth be told, our body is not so prepared to endure it, to endure that much intensity. And the more intense the sport is, the worse. I can help but remember Bob Burnquist, famous professional skateboarder. He is retired today, I believe, but he was awesome. He is awesome, but he was even more awesome back in the days when he was active. And I saw a couple of his interviews with him on podcasts, and he mentioned that the money you get from winning, not only participating in championships, but the money you get from winning championships can barely pay the expenses you have with doctors, with massage, with medicine, and other procedures, necessary procedures. Of course, we're talking about skateboard, which is a very intensive sport. But soccer doesn't go much different if we think about it. It's very common. I can think of a soccer player who never did a surgery on the knees or on the legs or somewhere around it. Because of course they're intensively. They don't play every day, but they train almost every day. That's the thing. So it is a possibility for you to make a fantastic career, but this alone won't make you a millionaire. But also, what I started saying, it will open so many doors to you because of popularity. Today we have everything televised, everything on the internet. So the chances of getting some ads, can turn you into a millionaire without I'm not gonna say without much effort. That wouldn't be fair to say that, but quicker than the average, I would say. When I say average, I don't say popular, the people, everybody's average. I say the millionaire's average. You can become a millionaire faster than a millionaire becoming average, if there's such average. But probably there is, but it's not official. So yeah. I repeat what I said. It is vital to have a sport as a hobby to preserve your health, to be healthy. But if you're young, one of the things about sports is that in order to start it, most of sports, you have to start when you're young. Let me talk about soccer. I know people who were 18 years old, and they were rejected by some teams because they were quote unquote too old, right? That's crazy if we come to think of it, but yeah, sports are like that. So if you're young and you're listening to me, say if you're 15, 14, and you plan to have a career in sports, right? I would absolutely tell you to, if that's what you really want, go for it, but don't forget that you are a company, okay? Never forget that you are a company. Everything you do to your body, you will do directly to your company, to a company that you will be working for example, But I would totally encourage you. It's an absolutely great option of career. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody gets successful at it. But those who get reasonably successful in life in general, right? I don't know much about other sports, but I know that they're equally competitive, like basketball, for example, or even football. When I say football, I mean American football, which is the Americans' favorite sport. There's Super Bowl every year in February. It literally stops the country, and people really love it. But it's a very aggressive sport. The chances of you getting hurt as a player are immense. So, well, I wouldn't necessarily go for a sport like that, which is definitely not a sport you can do for fun, I believe. Can you imagine you having to work on Monday and with your lower back hurt, destroyed because of yesterday's game, which is quite likely to happen if you come to think of the dynamics of American football. But yeah, I would like to pretty much have this open conversation with you guys about sports, more to incentivize, and of course, the main and prime objective of this podcast is to get you in contact with the English language, with the spontaneous conversation. And I can pretty much say that this is one more mission accomplished. But I would like, from the moment I decided to talk about this topic, to do this even more spontaneous conversation. So I want to thank you for your lovely company. I see you in the next episode. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.